It's funny how $80 can change your life. Not in the way you might think, not by winning a lottery or making a lucky investment. No, $80 was the price of my freedom, though I didn't know it at the time. I was 23, fresh out of college, working my first real job at a small tech startup. The pay wasn't great, but I loved the work. I was learning, growing, dreaming of building something of my own one day. My parents, though, they had different ideas about success. Olivia, we need to talk. My mother's voice crackled through the phone one evening. I was still at the office, debugging code that would later become the foundation of my company. Your father and I are a bit short this month. We need $80 for the cable bill. It wasn't the first time they called asking for money. Ever since I'd started working, they treated my bank account like their personal emergency fund. 20 here, 50 there, small amounts that added up to thousands over time. Mom, I can't. I said, my voice firm but gentle. I've already helped with the electricity bill last week, and the car payment before that. I need to save for my own future. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then came my father's voice. He must have been listening on speaker. Your own future, he scoffed. What future? Working at that worthless startup. We put you through college, and this is how you repay us. I closed my eyes, remembering the student loans I was still paying off. Loans that were in my name, not theirs. Dad, I pay for college myself. I'm still paying for it. After everything we've done for you, my mother chimed in, her voice rising. We gave you a home, raised you, and now you won't even help with $80. What kind of daughter are you? I felt something snap inside me. Years of guilt, manipulation, and financial drain crystallized into a moment of clarity. I am a daughter who needs to stand on her own feet, I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. And you are parents who should do the same. How dare you? My father exploded. If you don't send that money right now, you're dead to us. Dead, you hear me? I gripped my phone tighter, tears threatening to spill. I hear you, Dad. I hear you clearly for the first time. Then make your choice, my mother added, her voice cold. Your family or your precious money. I took a deep breath, thinking about the code on my screen, the dreams in my heart, and the future I wanted to build. I choose my future, I said quietly. Then you're no longer our daughter, my father spat. Don't ever contact us again. The line went dead. That night, I stayed late at the office, pouring my pain into my work. The code I wrote through my tears would later become the core algorithm of my company's first product. But I didn't know that then. All I knew was that I'd lost my family over $80. The next few months were a blur of work and loneliness. My parents kept their word. They blocked my number, returned my letters unopened, and told the entire extended family that I was dead to them. My cousins, aunts, and uncles who had always praised my academic achievements and career choices suddenly treated me like a pariah. But something unexpected happened. Without the constant drain on my resources and emotional energy, I started to thrive. The small savings I managed to build up became my seed money. The extra hours I used to spend dealing with my parents' financial emergencies went into developing my own software. My startup noticed. 6 months after that fateful phone call, my boss called me into his office. Olivia, the algorithm you developed, it's revolutionary. We want to make it the centerpiece of our new product line, and we want you to lead the project. I threw myself into the work. Every rejected family dinner invitation became an extra hour of coding. Every holiday spent alone turned into a new feature development. The pain of being disowned fueled my determination to succeed. A year later, I had a choice to make. The company wanted to buy my algorithm outright for a substantial sum. It was more money than I'd ever seen, enough to pay off my student loans and still have plenty left over. But something told me to hold on to it. This wasn't just code anymore. It was my ticket to independence. Instead of selling, I made a bold proposal. I would start my own company with my algorithm as the foundation and partner with them instead. To my surprise, they agreed. More than that, they invested. OliveTech was born in a small office with 3 employees, me, a junior developer I'd mentored, and a sales rep who believed in my vision. We worked impossible hours, lived on coffee and determination, and poured everything we had into making it work. The first year was brutal. I lost count of how many times I nearly gave up, how many nights I cried myself to sleep wondering if my parents were right about me. But each morning, I got up and tried again. Then came our first major client, then another, and another. By the end of year 2, we had 20 employees. By year 3, we had to move to a bigger office. Our software was doing things nobody else in the industry had thought possible, solving problems others hadn't even recognized yet. I kept tabs on my family through LinkedIn and occasional updates from the few relatives who still spoke to me. I learned that my father had been promoted to middle management at his company. My mother still worked part-time at the local library. They still lived in the same house, still complained about money, still told everyone who would listen about their ungrateful daughter who abandoned them. Little did they know that the small startup they dismissed was about to become one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country. Little did they know that their worthless daughter was on the verge of something extraordinary. But they would find out soon enough, because after 5 years of silence, after building my company from nothing to the edge of a major breakthrough, I was about to appear on national television. And I knew they would be watching. The morning of my television appearance, I stood in front of my full-length mirror, adjusting my blazer. The woman staring back at me was a far cry from the broken 23-year-old who had lost her family over $80. My clothes were tailored now, my posture confident, my eyes clear and focused. "Miss Carter, the car is here," my assistant, Michael, called from the living room of my penthouse apartment. The drive to the studio was surreal. CNBC had reached out after Olivtech's latest innovation hit the market, an AI-driven software solution that was revolutionizing supply chain management. Our company valuation had just hit $80 million, a number that felt like poetic justice. "Just remember," Michael said, reviewing our prep notes, "they'll want to focus on the technology, but they'll probably ask about your background too. Are you sure you want to tell the whole story?" I nodded. It's time. The studio lights were bright, the makeup artist's final touches perfect. As I sat across from the interviewer, Sarah Chin, I thought about my parents' small TV in their living room. They never missed the morning business news. Today we're joined by Olivia Carter, founder and CEO of Olivtech, the company that's been making waves in the tech industry. Sarah began. "Olivia, your company just hit an $80 million valuation. That's impressive for any startup, but especially one that began just 5 years ago. Tell us how it all started." I took a deep breath. "Actually, Sarah, it started with $80. Not in the way you might think, not as an investment or a loan. It started when I lost my family over $80. The interview went quiet. This wasn't in the prep notes. "Would you elaborate on that?" Sarah leaned forward, intrigued. So I told the story. All of it. The constant financial drain, the manipulation, the final phone call, the dissoundment. I spoke about building something from nothing, about turning pain into motivation. When they cut me off, they thought they were punishing me, I said, looking directly into the camera. Instead, they set me free. That $80 they demanded, it would have been gone in a moment. Instead, it became the seed of an $80 million company. My phone started buzzing before I even left the studio. First came the text from my cousin Sophia, the only family member who had stayed in touch. "OMG, Aunt Linda and Uncle Dave, my parents, are losing it. They're calling everyone in the family." Then came the calls, dozens of them from blocked numbers. I knew who they were from. I handed my phone to Michael. "Screen these for me, please." Back at the office, my team greeted me with applause. They all knew my story now, understood why I pushed so hard, worked so long. But I barely had time to acknowledge their support before Michael rushed in, his face pale. "Your parents are in the lobby." I stood by my office window, looking out at the city skyline I had helped reshape. "Send them up." They burst through my office door moments later. My mother, wearing the same pearl necklace she'd had for 20 years. My father, his face red with a mixture of anger and something else. Was it embarrassment? "How dare you?" My mother started. "How dare you air our private business on national television?" I turned slowly. "Private business? You mean the story you've been telling everyone for 5 years? About your ungrateful daughter who abandoned her family?" "We came to give you a chance to apologize," my father cut in. "To make things right." I laughed softly. "Make things right? You mean now that I'm worth something to you?" "We're your parents," my mother cried. "We gave you everything." "No," I said firmly. "You gave me an ultimatum over $80. And now you're here, not because you miss me, not because you're sorry, but because I'm successful." My father's face softened slightly. Princess, let's put this behind us. We're family. We should be celebrating your success together. My success? I walked to my desk and pulled out an old envelope. You mean the success you said I'd never have? The dreams you called worthless? I slid the envelope across the desk. Here's your $80, with 5 years' interest. They stared at the check, their faces a mix of shock and shame. But we don't want your money, my mother whispered. We want our daughter back. The daughter you had doesn't exist anymore, I replied. You killed her the night you chose $80 over her. The woman standing before you, she built herself from the ashes of your rejection. Please, my father's voice cracked. We made a mistake. Yes, you did. I agreed. And it was the best thing you ever did for me, because it taught me exactly what I'm worth. And it's a lot more than $80. I pressed the intercom. Michael, please escort my guests out. Olivia, wait. My mother called as security approached. What about family? I met her eyes one last time. Family doesn't disown you over $80. Family doesn't come back only when you're worth millions. What you taught me that night wasn't about money. It was about value. My own value. And that's something I'll never let anyone discount again. After they left, I sat in my office as the sun set over the city. My phone kept buzzing with messages from relatives who had shunned me, now eager to reconnect. I turned it off. On my desk sat a framed dollar bill, the first revenue Alive Tech ever earned. Beside it, I placed the uncashed check I had written to my parents. 2 pieces of paper, 2 very different kinds of value. That night, as I walked through my empty penthouse, I didn't feel lonely. I felt free. The $80 that costing my family had given me something far more valuable. It had given me myself. My company continued to grow, eventually expanding globally. The valuation kept climbing far beyond that initial $80 million. But I never forgot the lesson of that first $80. Sometimes the biggest gains come from what you refuse to give away. My parents never cashed the check. Last I heard, they had moved to a smaller house, still struggling with bills. Sometimes I wonder if they ever understood that the real cost of that $80 wasn't financial, it was the relationship they threw away. But I don't dwell on it. Instead, I focus on building something meaningful. Every quarter, Alive Tech donates thousands to organizations helping young entrepreneurs escape financial abuse. Every year, we fund scholarships for students who've been cut off by their families. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about helping others rise above. And sometimes, the smallest amount of money can lead to the biggest change in your life. All it takes is the courage to say no and the strength to face the consequences. In my case, it took $80 to learn I was worth millions, not in dollars, but in self-worth. And that's something no one can take away.